This is the third of a series of 3 videos in which I show you how to make different components of a fast moving Cobra bag. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a really solid base. But make sure you stay to the end of the video because I'm going to show you a couple of great enhancements, one of which I personally can't do without. And by the way, this base that I'm going to show you how to make will not only work well with a DIY Cobra bag, but will also offer top performance for any of the core kits that you can get on Kewlus.com should you ever decide to upgrade. In fact, the combination of this base with the Pro Core kit is what's being used in many boxing gyms and by many world-ranking fighters. The most effective way to make a base for your Cobra bag, whether it's one of the core kits or the DIY version, is to glue together a number of boards like these. Now, MDF or chipboard boards are best for this, and the ideal size is 1.5 by 1.5 feet. Anything smaller than that, and you're going to compromise the stability of the base and the performance of the Cobra bag. Anything more than that, and you're going to compromise your ability to place your foot near the base. I also like to cut off the corners of the base so that I end up with an octagonal shape, and I measure off 5 inches from the ends. That'll give me a 7-inch cut, so all the sides end up being 7 inches. Now, if you do decide to cut off the corners, don't throw them out. I'll show you how you can glue them underneath the base to give your Cobra bag extra height and also stop the base from sliding around on carpet. Here it is, corners cut off and all the boards glued together with this heavy duty liquid nails glue. Now, one thing to be aware of is if you use laminated boards, they will take longer for the glue to set, so do allow a few days before you start using it. Now, I've taken the corners and I glued them to the back, 3 layers of them, and I've distributed them in this sort of way. I've got 2 sets here and 3 sets at the back, forming sort of like a wall. And that's because I'm going to attach some caster wheels to the back. And for me, caster wheels are a must. I need to be able to cart this thing around. And it's the reason I left the gap here between these 2 sets, so I could put my hand in, raise this aside, goes on the caster wheels and carts away. I'll show you at the end of the video. And now it's time to attach your base connector. For the 1-inch flange of your DIY Cobra bag, you want to use the thickest screws that will go into these holes. You've only got 4 holes, so only 4 screws to hold it down. So you want to make sure you're using the biggest screws that will actually go in there. Now, I'm going to pre-drill the holes for these screws to make sure the timber doesn't split, and attach the base connector, the flange. All right, well, I've pre-drilled and screwed in the flange. Now, I've had to test it twice because the first time when I screwed it in, the screws were not tight enough. And I've had to use an Allen key to tighten them. Now, these screws have an Allen key insert, so that gives you torque, and that's why these screws are good. Normal Phillips head screws are not going to work. If you can't find screws with an Allen key insert like that, you can also use bolt screws like these. They have a bolt at the top with a mushroom head, and they're pretty good. Just make sure you get the biggest ones you can find that will fit within this hole. These types of screws, you can use a wrench to tighten it. And tightening this flange is going to be really important. Check it, make sure there's no movement, and check it again in a couple of days after you start hitting the bag, just to make sure there's no movement at all. If the screws are coming loose or this is not holding, it means you need bigger screws. You could also put some glue into the holes when you're screwing the screws so they stay screwed in, but you need to make sure they're really, really tight. To weigh down your base, you'll need about 100 pounds of weight. A couple of sandbags will do the job, but I found this is the optimum sort of solution where you've got a single round sandbag and a weight plate on top with a sleeve in the center. Now, you'll need to just make up a sleeve using some paper. You just fold it a number of times, wrap around the mast and shove it in there. Now with the Kewlus kits, you can actually get a sleeve, a red one like that fits onto the Kewlus mask. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit on the 1-inch pipe, so you would just need to make one up. But makes for a really rigid setup and also protects the flange from excessive forces. And finally, my favorite hack by far is adding a pair of caster wheels to the base, to the back of the base, so that I can move the Cobra Bag around without having to take off the weights. And make sure you get the ones that don't swivel. You don't want them to swivel. Attach them to the very bottom, and if need be, reinforce the bottom of the base with some long screws like I have here. That will ensure that your base can handle the heavy weight when it's tilted on the side. And here it is, fully loaded, and I can still easily move it around and position it anywhere I want. Well, there you go, a super fast Cobra Bag that's got a rock solid base and is also easy to move around. And make sure to check out some of my other videos, one of which I show you how to make a pair of punching gloves like these for just a few bucks. I call them pounders, and they're great for your Cobra Bag. And stay tuned as I continue exploring boxing training at home.